What are the best techniques for catching trout during a fishing trip? If you are gearing up for a trout fishing trip and want to know the best techniques to catch these elusive fish, you are in the right place. Let us break down the methods that can increase your chances of landing a trout. First, let us talk about drift fishing. This method is highly effective in various water conditions and allows you to cover a large area. Start by using a split shot about 12 to 24 inches from your hook. If the fishing is slow, consider using a leader. For deeper, fast-moving water, use a larger split shot and a longer leader. You can use a small treble or salmon hook. If you are using a treble hook, mold your bait like Berkeley's Power Bait or cheese to cover the hook entirely. For a salmon hook, simply hook the salmon egg through the middle. Cast your line upstream from where you think the trout are, and slowly reel in the slack line as the current pushes it downstream. Be ready for light bites, and when you feel one, use a medium pull back on the rod to set the hook. Avoid hard hook sets as they can scare the trout away. Another effective method is float fishing. This is similar to drift fishing, but uses a small, slender floater or bobber. Adjust the floater according to the depth of the trout. When the floater makes a sudden movement, set the hook. Tight lining, or bottom fishing, is also a great technique. Use polarized glasses to spot trout in slow-moving water. Rig your line with the desired hook and bait, and crimp a split shot 12 to 24 inches above the hook. Cast upstream and let the bait settle to the bottom. Reel up the slack line and wait for a strike. Check your bait every few minutes and cast in a different spot if necessary. Avoid this method in high water. When fishing in streams and rivers, the current plays a crucial role. For spinning and retrieving lures, cast upstream above your target area and retrieve the lure slightly faster than the current. This mimics the natural movement of prey items like minnows and insects. Floating baits in rivers involves casting upstream and allowing the bait to drift down through the target area. Use enough split shot to get the bait near the bottom, but not so much that it sinks too quickly. Fishing with bait off the bottom is another technique. Attach a lead weight about 1.5 feet above the baited hook and cast out. The weight will sink, but the bait will float up and hover near the bottom. When using spinners or spoons, cast them slightly upriver and let them sink for a minute before reeling them in. Vary the sink time and retrieval speed to find what works best. These lures mimic small fish and other prey that trout like to eat. Remember to read the water before you start fishing. Analyze potential fishing locations and figure out what type of food the trout are likely eating in that area. Match your bait, lures, or flies to what the trout are feeding on. Practice your casting before you go, especially if you are planning to use lures or flies. Casting accuracy is key, especially for fly fishing. Finally, be patient and flexible. Trout can be choosy, so try different baits, lures, or flies if one is not working. Shift your position slightly if you have not had a strike after 10 to 15 minutes. And always keep an eye on the water temperature, as it can affect where the trout are and how they behave. By mixing up these techniques and paying attention to the water conditions and trout behavior, you will be well on your way to a successful trout fishing trip.